Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jashodanandana Brajajana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jashodanandana Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tiro Manachadi Yamuna Tiro Manachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Paramahansa Paribhajaraacharya Sthakarishya Smala Kirtan Saraswati Goswami Bhagavati Jaya Ananda Kori Vaishnava Ki Jaya Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jaya Names of the whole Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sri Radha Shivacharya Gaur Bhakti Jaya Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Kanda Radha Kanda Jaya Vrindavan Dham Ki Jaya नवदीप धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय द्वारका धाम की जय स्वामी भक्तवृंद की जय All glories to the All glories to the Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, Her Grace, VRAJA Devi, and all glories to the assembled Vaishnavi devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. And we all know our speaker needs no introduction. And Mother Raj, we are very grateful to have your association once again. And this is our first time meeting in the year 2025. Therefore, we humbly and respectfully say and wish you a happy Krishna conscious New Year 2025. And to all the assembled Vaishnavi devotees. If this is our first time meeting in this year, we wish you a happy Krishna conscious New Year. So, Mother Bride, we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from me. I think you have 2 verses today. I believe so. Hare Krishna. Very well.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm very grateful to have everybody take their time to be here this for us in the morning for Srimad Bhagavatam class, 10 o'clock for us. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, text 32 and 33. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text 32. Tamaso Bhuta Shukshmadir Yuktakam Lingamatmanaha. And the synonyms, Tamashaha, from the mode of ignorance. Bhuta Shukshma Adhi, subtle sense objects. Yata, from which. Kam, the sky. Lingam, symbolic representation. Atmanaha, of the Supreme Soul. Srila Prabhupada's translation. The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egotistic ignorance. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Etash smad atmana akshaha sambhutaha. The sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Those who are egoistic in passion and ignorance cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. For them, the sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. So do you want me to comment on this one first and then go to the next one, Saha, or read the two and then maybe I'll just do both? Comment on both.
Maybe you do the two together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Text 33. Kalamayam sayogena bhagavad vikshitam nabaha nabasho nustritam sparsham vikurvan nirmane anilam. Synonyms. Kala, time. Maya, external energy. Amsa yogena, partly mixed. Bhagavat, the personality of Godhead. Vikshitam, glanced over. Nabha, the sky. Nabhasha, from the sky. Anusritam, being so contacted. Sparsham, touch. Vikurvat, being transformed. Nirmane, was created. Anilam, the sky. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed a touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. Srila Prabhupada's purport. All material creations take place from subtle to gross. The entire universe has developed in that manner. From the sky developed the touch sensation, which is a mixture of eternal time, the external energy, and the glance of the personality of Godhead. The touch sensation developed in the air in the sky. Similarly, all other gross matter also developed from subtle to gross. Sound developed into sky. Touch developed into air. Form developed into fire. Taste developed into water. And smell developed into earth. Haribo, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, Narayanam Namaskritya, Naranchayvam Narotamam, Devam Saraswati Vyasam, Tato Jayam Hurdayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prashwa Bhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya, Bhagavati Utamashloke, Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Lord, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo, I think I did say that already. Okay. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pastatyade Shatarine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shritatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hari Hari. So we're continuing with this amazing these texts and this amazing pastime, I want to say, of understanding how creation came about, the ultimate in pastimes of the Lord, for us to be able to know about our existence in this material world, and just how the Lord, in His mercy and His compassion, how He created this material energy, and just how in the details of how this creation came to be. So in these texts, it's very wonderful to hear Maitreya explaining this science to Vidura, and Vidura is just very how do you say, he's being in the mood of a disciple, wanting to hear. Although Vidura have deep understanding of bhakti, yet he puts himself in this situation where he makes himself available to just sit and listen to Maitreya speak about these topics, these different under this topic about the creation. And so sometimes when we think about the creation, we wonder, like at least sometimes I wonder, what is the importance of knowing these details of material creation, because it can often be a little bit confusing to understand every minute detail, and ultimately, not only is it confusing, it's actually very difficult to understand. However, Krishna tells us that He is the source of all remembrance and forgetfulness. So whatever we have forgotten about the creation, the Lord will give us that understanding as we engage in the process of bhakti. And so this is very important in understanding the creation of the Lord, is that we are engaged in loving devotional service. So this is the primary aspect of entering into this amazing conversation, is the reason that Vidura is deeply wanting to understand, or wanting for us to understand about the creation, is so that we can really develop this mood of devotional service to the Lord. And so this is the ultimate in why we understand the creation. We understand the creation so that we could we can learn about Krishna's mercy and compassion. And as we learn about Krishna's mercy and compassion, then of course, the Lord within the heart gives us this remembrance of who he is. And in this way, we're able to develop the love that is lying dormant within our hearts. So in this text, it sounds a little intricate because this is theoretical. Is in one sense, it's theoretical understanding, but it's not theoretical understanding because it's actually the Lord acting and manifesting and doing what he does, for the benefit of the conditioned souls. And so here in text 31, let's see if I can read that again. Text 31, it said, here we're learning, Maitreya is explaining the senses are certainly products of, sorry, 32, somebody read 31. Okay, the sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egotistic passion. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. So how do we understand this purport? At least for me, this translation. For me, I really had to pray. Of course, I'm always praying to try to understand the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is very intricate, analytical, it's called analytical knowledge. And so I had to pray to try to understand a little bit about just how we understand this text 32. So when we think about Krishna's creation, right, the beginning of creation, which is Swarga, the very beginning, the Lord himself is creating. So this is Lord Narayan. He's creating the material universe. And so these details are explaining to us how he creates the material universe. And so in this first explanation here about the sky is a product of sound, and sound is transformation of egoistic passion. So firstly, when we think about the modes of material nature, we do know that the modes of material nature are a part of Krishna's external energy. So here it's explained that the sky is created from the interaction of false ego and ignorance. And so the sky is a part of Krishna's external energy. So false ego, we know from other speakers that appeared first. And that's from the interaction of the Mahatattva and ignorance. And so when the Mahatattva and ignorance combined, then this gets mixed. This mixture then produces different elements. And so these elements, these elements are coming from this kind of combination of mixing together. Like if we can imagine an artist, and an artist just making different colors, adding different colors to colors that's already there, and just keep adding different colors. So as they add new colors by mixing different colors, then the new colors will create a different color, right? So anyone that's artistic knows this. When you take two colors and you mix it together, it creates another color. And so in the same way, the Lord is creating in this way. He's creating these different elements, and these different elements are creating different elements. So in this text 32, this stage of creation, this element air, let's see, this element of the sky is produced of sound, and the sound is, so this egoistic passion is because this is a part of Krishna's external material energy. And so therefore, this is, we understand that this sound, the sky is a product of sound, and sound is a transformation of egoistic passion. To understand that, it's important to know that this egoistic passion is a part of Krishna's external energy. And so sound in the material energy is how Krishna creates the beginning of sound in this material environment. Now we know that there is sound in the spiritual world that has nothing to do with the material elements, nothing to do with Krishna's material creation. However, because us as living entities wanted to be in a consciousness different from being in the consciousness with the Supreme Lord, the Lord had to create a place where we can play out the consciousness that we have. And so this consciousness that we have is coming from the modes of material nature. And so therefore this text is explaining to us that those persons who are egoistic, they are in those modes, passion and ignorance. They cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. So people that have no knowledge of the Supreme Lord, they see the sky as a representation of the Lord. And I've been, yeah, and many of you I know people and have been in countries where people worship the sky as God. It's a representative of God. It's a representation of God in the material world for many people because they don't have an understanding of what is beyond the sky, who created the sky, how are these elements mixing together to give us what we're seeing here in this material world. They don't have an understanding of that. So Prabhupada takes the time, to bring this to our awareness simply for the purpose of reinforcing our desire to practice bhakti. That is the purpose. The purpose is, okay, we look at the sky and we think, how beautiful, how wonderful. For example, today for us, we're looking at the sky. It's so beautiful. It's so clear. There's beautiful clouds. The sky looks like it's blue. It's just, it's looking so beautiful. And someone that has that is curious, but they may ask the question, but how's the sky created? Who made it so beautiful? Why is it so beautiful? And how come it's blue? And who painted it that color? And so like this, when a person becomes curious, then they get that mercy to be able to remember. And that remembrance comes from that person either connecting with a devotee of the Lord through the medium of Srila Prabhupada's books, or through the medium of hearing the holy names of the Lord, through the medium of honoring prasadam. There are so many ways that a person gets that remembrance awakened. And of course, through the medium of the spiritual master, if a person is very fortunate, they are able to then get the mercy of the spiritual master to understand these details of the Lord's creation and how these details are to assist us to become very vigilant in our practice of bhakti. So here the analytical understanding of this is that the sky, from as being explained here, the sky is a product of sound. So we're understanding that then sound is created, material sound. And all of us are aware of material sounds. In the material, we're part of the material world. And for most of us, those of you that were born and as devotees and have always been hearing transcendental sound, then you may be exempt from this material sound vibration. However, even those that may be born as devotees, still, because we're in this material environment, we are surrounded by this sound vibration. This sound vibration is a part of time and Krishna's external energy. Those put together are expand into this material sound vibration that we have developed in our own consciousness. In our consciousness, we desire to be a part of the material sound that's in our particular universe, our particular planet, and ultimately in our particular mind. And so this material sound is important to understand. And then Prabhupada says, the reason Prabhupada uses this to help us to understand this that is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Lord, symbolic meaning that most people in the world, that's how they understand. They can only see, they see God in the form of the sky because it's so vast. And it's so, no, most people cannot really explain the sky. Even the scientists, they use so many different tools and equipments to explain the sky, but still they have no real understanding about the although in Shankia philosophy, and I'm shifting over a little bit, we do learn that the scientists, they, in some ways, there is some similarity in how they understand the universe to our process of bhakti. However, there is definitely some details that are different. But it's important to note that material sound vibration is a manifestation of the sky. It's a manifestation of what we see, what we can see out in, with our material eyes. So then Prabhupada talks about how all material elements, they go from subtle to gross, subtle to gross. And he explains, Srila Prabhupada explains that the entire universe was developed in that manner. So everything that we understand about our universe is from subtle to gross. And so, for example, he says, from the sky developed the touch sensation. So now we have the sky. We have sound. Sound is developed into the sky. The sky now is developed, into the touch sensation. And which is this, the touch sensation is a mixture of eternal Krishna's external energy and the glance of the personality of Godhead. And so this is where I want to pause and just kind of connect with that, because there are all these different elements that makes up this makes up the universe, makes up the material universe. And all of these elements, we can experience many of these elements just from our own body, because as you know, our body is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So if we think about our own body, we can somehow understand this smell, for example, or we can understand form, we can understand taste, we can understand some of these different elements because we have them within our body. That's how compassionate Krishna is, because he created in this first creation, all of these elements to facilitate us so that we can function in this particular universe and have, and in our state of consciousness, the consciousness we may have. He created all these elements so that we are somehow or other able to function within the material universe until we get to have the mercy of some form of connection with the Lord, some form of getting connected with the Supreme Lord. And so this touch, so this pause that I wanted to have here is to just understand a little bit about how Krishna's smile, just his smile, created all of these different elements just by him glancing, just his glance. I'm sorry. I mean, we haven't even got to his smile yet, but just his glance. So when we think about creation, right? When we think about creation for a human being, what we have to go through to create. So wouldn't it be nice for a human being to just be able to glance on another human being and create? I'm sure many people would love to do that. Only Krishna can do that. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can glance, just his sweet glance on the Mahatattva, on the material on his entire material creation, that he creates all these different elements in order to facilitate us, the living entities. So Prabhupada talks about the different elements in the next text, in the how when Krishna glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, then then the touch sensation was developed. So like the artist, you know, touch came from this other element, the element previous to that. And then the air in the sky was produced. So out of that comes something else. So this is it's almost like magical in a way, how Krishna glances on something and then it becomes something else, and it becomes something else. And each of these elements serves a purpose, each of them for the living entity, for us. And so the Prabhupada says here that the touch sensation developed into the air in the sky. And also from that, the sound developed into the sky, touch developed into the air, form developed into fire, taste developed into water, and smell developed into earth. When Prabhupada speaks here about fire, that was one that I really had to do a little research to understand that, like fire and form, even though we know fire does have form. When we see in the material creation, when we see in the material world, we understand that fire has form. Fire moves and can move very rapidly. And so it has to have form in order to move. And we see that happening here in America. Many people, everything is getting destroyed because of fire. Thousands of people are misplaced because of fire, because fire's form is moving, because it's moving and it can destroy. But I became very curious about that. Oh, form and fire. How do I understand that in terms of Krishna creating this form that now becomes fire? And so Srila Prabhupada, he explains this very nicely. He says, when we talk about when we hear about fire and Krishna, this form that's developed through and becomes fire, form develops and becomes fire. Prabhupada is mainly speaking here about electricity, and Prabhupada gives about light and electricity, because there's not much mention about fire in this narration, and how the form is transformed, how this transformation is happening. And so Prabhupada explains that light and electricity are considered subtle manifestation of the element fire. Therefore, the three are manifestations of the same material element: light, electricity, and fire, ultimately. However, it seems that at the time of creation, and this is where I was really trying to understand. So by just doing some research, I got what Prabhupada said. However, it seems that at the time of creation, there was no gross manifestation of fire. There was nothing burning. So yeah, anyway, let me just stick with this point. There was nothing burning, but just subtle energy, because this is what these verses are about, from subtle to gross. Therefore, the fire element existed in a very subtle form. And that's why Prabhupada chose to use the word electricity. Electricity or fire comes after the appearance of form. So after there's some form created, this comes electricity or fire, as we understand it, which comes from a combination of ether or sky and the air. So this comes, so as we said, the painter, right? The painter is painting. And then they create one color, then they're creating another color. And so here, the Lord is creating these different elements. One element creates another element. Now, this explanation of Srila Prabhupada made so much sense to me, because he said it's thanks to the creation of the element fire and its subtle forms as light and electricity that we can see the world. So that makes perfect sense. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see if we didn't have, the light, which comes ultimately, which coming from the sun, which is another form of Krishna's creation. And we wouldn't be able to see without electricity. And so now this is why, and this really brought it home to me, is why there's questions about the fires that are happening here in the United States. There is some assumptions, or people are speculating that it was some electricity thing that happened, why the fire got started. And so that makes perfect sense that Srila Prabhupada would use electricity as a way of explaining how how this form and fire are related to each other. That with this electricity, then fire is generated. And of course, we understand just from seeing fire that fire has form. We understand that. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain here the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated from the form of sense perception and the perception of form is transformed into electricity, the light to see the world. So there's so many nuances about the subtleties of Krishna's creation that I personally don't understand. But however, Srila Prabhupada, being a pure devotee of the Lord, by his example, I can understand by hearing what he says, how he explains about all of these different transformations or how Krishna paints all of these different subtle elements and how we can see them, we can perceive them with our eyes in the material world. So Prabhupada explains to us this really wonderful verse in Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi paripatena paripasena sevaya upadeshanti te gyanam gyananastadpadashinaha. That in order to understand this creation, it's not just by our material intelligence, even though our material intelligence can help us in some ways to understand material energy. However, what's important is to be able to hear from the right source about Krishna's material energy, the details of it, and why this material energy is created for our benefit. Why did Krishna do that? And so this glance is directly correlated, this glance of Krishna, to us being able to receive transcendental knowledge. This is the reason, this is the only reason Krishna glances on material energy. Because of these stubborn, very stubborn children of his, he wanted to facilitate these children, just like sometimes we have a parent and the child is kind of a little bit troublesome. And so then the parent says, okay, you can go, live in your own place, get your own house, and figure it out all your expenses, whatever. And some parents might even say, I had just recently one young devotee. It was funny, I was having a conversation with a young devotee, and so she was saying how this actually was, it was a Christian family that I was talking to, and they're very they're very devotional Christian family. And the daughter in the Christian family was saying about this father who left his son an island, an island that's already, everything is there, right? On this island. And she was saying how it's so beautiful that the father set up the child. The child never has to worry because the child has an island and everything is on this island, everything that the child ever needs. So, and the child never has to worry about money or anything like that because all facilities is on this island. So it's like that. Krishna's created an island for us and he's given us all these different facilities. There's only one catch about all the facilities Krishna has given us is these, which I tried to share in a very sweet and nice way with this young Christian girl, that this is all wonderful. However, at best, it might satisfy some temporary desires for this young child, right? Because it's temporary. It's not going to last, you know? We're having all kinds of major things happening in the world today. So who knows what's going to happen to the island, right? Without trying to be pessimistic or have a mood of not encouraging, just trying to show that, yeah, Krishna has created all this for us. He's even sharing with us how he's created it. Look, I did this sound, it's into sky. I did this smell, it's into earth. I did this form, it's into fire. I'm doing all this. I'm showing you all this. And yet it's all temporary. It's all temporary. So I glance over all this, and then yeah, you engage in all of this, and then I'm still gonna have to keep you inside of when you get annihilated, because you're gonna get annihilated. That's gonna happen. And then I'm gonna have to keep you inside of me and wait till you come back out again and do it all over again. So it's kind of like that. Krishna is doing, he's so graciously, mercifully, compassionately creating these different elements in a material world so that we can function. And some of us just understand that, and many people, they just function without any more knowledge about it. They just see whatever they see, they just accept. And then the mercy of the Lord, he makes an arrangement where, because of that glance, there are souls that can get transcendental knowledge. There are souls that will be curious. There are souls that will want to understand more about the things that we're seeing. Like fire, for example, fire, right? The form. I am sure out of the millions of people that are affected, there must at least be one or two that's like curious now to understand more about, wow, how did this come about? Or that it tweaked, their curiosity about God. And I'm sure there are many people like that. So Krishna is utilizing all of these elements simply for this purpose, that we can engage in understanding, awakening our dormant love for him. And of course, that means engaging in devotional service. So I just want to I want to share one more thing that Prabhupada shares in his purport, just to bring this home, because this, as I said, I can't really say that I understand totally the details of Krishna's creation. However, I can say, Krishna, my dear Lord, I am so very grateful, that I have been given an opportunity by the mercy of my spiritual master, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, to be able to understand why you made this creation, why you engage in this creation, why this is so important for me, because by me understanding your creation, I'm able to now begin to be awakened to want to understand more about you personally. Who's the person, who's the artist behind all this? And so that only came because of mercy, right? So Prabhupada, he also explains from the descriptions of the physical elements in the above verses, it is clear in all stages the glance of the Supreme is needed with the other additions and alterations. So Krishna is the ultimate artist, right? He's painting, he's changing the paint, he's making it this different details here, different details there. In every transformation, the last finishing touch is the glance of the Lord. So Prabhupada keeps coming back to none of this is possible without the glance of the Lord, who acts as this person that's like the painter, who's mixing all the colors. So that's important for us to take away from these verses. And then he goes back into explaining the sky is the cause of air. The sky has only one quality. So just to reiterate what Prabhupada is saying, the quality of air is sound. But by the interaction of the sky with the glance of the Lord, mixed with eternal time and the external nature, the air is produced. So that's how we get ether, air, which has two qualities, and the air has two qualities, sound and touch. And we can understand sound. We hear, we can with our ears, we hear, we know touch, we touch our skin, we feel our skin. So we can understand this. And Krishna created this in the entire material universe. And then we benefit from it. And similar, then he goes on the last point that Prabhupada makes here. Although they are different mixtures, they're different mixtures of different materials. Such mixtures, they don't take place automatically. It's not that we should think, oh, this just came by chance. This all just, which is what the scientist says, right? It's a Big Bang theory. Everything just comes by chance. No, Prabhupada is explaining, no, this is very thoughtful. It's not automatic. He says without it's the person, the automatic system is factually activated by the glancing touch of the Lord. Yeah, so basically he ends this little statement, which I thought was important to read, that the conclusion he says is that physical elements may work very wonderfully to the layman's eyes, but their workings takes place under the supervision of the Lord. Those who can mark only changes of the physical elements and cannot perceive the hidden hands of the Lord behind them are certainly less intelligent people, although they may be advertised as material scientists. So in this little purport here, he's definitely tweaking again our awareness of us to be able to have curiosity about the material sciences and what they're saying, and to understand it through the eyes of bhakti. And so I want to close because, as I said, this is not a topic that I can say I'm praying to the Lord to give me intelligence in my heart, spiritual intelligence, to be able to at least speak some things about this. However, Krishna explains that the wise person, this creation of his is not so important, although it is in some sense. Prabhupada has it here for us to understand. However, what Prabhupada also says is that the wise person, that they engage in the process of bhakti, the process of devotional service. And by engaging in devotional service, by engaging in bhakti, all of this knowledge will be revealed. And so that's my prayer, that somehow I can engage in devotional service where one day this knowledge is just, I just wake up and it's like, oh yeah, that's what Krishna does. That's how he does it. And that's why he does it. And so I just want to share that we can understand more about this from we read about this in the second canto of Bhagavatam. It's there in the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam in the cause of all causes. Prabhupada, this is broken down for us, how Mahavishnu Karnadaksha Vishnu creates the material nature and Pradhan, and how the Mahatattva comes after that. And then from Mahatattva comes Ahankara, false ego. And then from false ego comes all these different elements. And so this is how we get these elements here of sound, touch, form. Sound is ether, touch is air, form is fire, taste is water, and smell is earth. And we know Krishna says, I am the source of all of this. So we want to just close with some verses from Bhagavad Gita that helps us to solidify the fact that although this knowledge is there and it's very detailed, Krishna tells us in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego, altogether, these 8, 5 are gross and 3 are subtle, constitute my separated material energy. Has nothing to do with Krishna. Krishna just glances and it happens. So that's in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And he goes on to explain, that in order to help us to understand that he's behind all of this for our benefit, for us to be able to develop this awareness, or this develop a curiosity, to have awareness about the Lord. He says, I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am the sound and eater. I am the ability in man. I am the natural fragrance of the earth. He says, smell is coming from the earth. I am the natural fragrance. I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives. I am the austerity of all austerities. I am the original seed of all existences, living beings. Know that, O son of Pratah. Know that, O son of Srila Prabhupada. Know that, O daughter of Srila Prabhupada. Know that Krishna is the seed-giving father. I am the proudness of all powerful people. I am the strength of the strong, which is free from selfish desires and attachment. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. So again, in the chapter of Bhagavad, the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in verses 8 through 11, Krishna tells us, he reminds us, he let us know, yes, material creation is there, understand it, but remember, don't ever forget, I am behind all of this. And so as I said, my dear devotees, there are many scholars here. I'm sure many of you are have invested your curiosity into understanding more about Krishna's external energy and how it works. And I applaud you for that. So please, if you like, please add to what I have shared here. My understanding is Krishna is that glance of Krishna is simply to help me to become a more aware devotee in terms of being a servant of the servant of the servant of the devotees, which will give me some entrance into understanding more about the Supreme Lord and how his energies work. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Nitai Gaura Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother VRAJA Devi, for dealing with this verse. Like you rightly said, this angle of the Bhagavatam is one of the technical places that is not so easily comprehensible by many people. I'm sure if we got Tyson Neil deGrasse here, he might have some difficulties understanding what the Bhagavatam is saying. So I'm very grateful that you were able to deal with the texts the way you did. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, reflections, comments, you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak or to share your reflections. Hare Krishna. Very well. Mother Kamaniya Devi, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mother VRAJA. I was raised Christian, but I didn't really study the Bible. But I'm just remembering that as far as the Christian concept of creation goes, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was sound. So I'm wondering what would be the correlation to the Christian Bible, if there is any. If you might know.
Hari Chakra Prabhu, this is our Christian scholar. He spends a lot of his curious time in understanding bhakti from different perspectives. So, Hari Chakra Prabhu, are you available? I know this is a very busy time for you.
It's helpful when you live in a Christian country. It's helpful to know where does bhakti meet what people already have some awareness of.
Yes, absolutely, I agree. I like to call on those persons that I know spend time, researching and understanding and in their hearts these concepts. From my understanding, because it's been a long time, I've been a devotee over 45 years, so I don't have as much understanding about Christianity. I was also, here's Hari Chakra. Yeah. Prabhu, sound, how does it relate to Christianity and bhakti?
In regard specifically to creation.
Like in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and with the Word, all things were created. That's what the Bible says. So, Mother Kamania wants to see if there is any correlation between what the Bible says and what the Bhagavatam says.
Yeah, I mean, like the quote that you gave, that the beginning was the Word.
Your audio is a bit muffled. Can you please check your microphone? I think your earpiece.
Is it okay now?
Much better, yes.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that quote, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. Yeah. And that through him, everything was created. Yeah, that word, I mean, it is also mentioned in the Quran. In the Quran, it is also mentioned that God, he is the one who says, let it be, and it is. He doesn't have to put any ingredient. It comes from his word, the sound of his word, and things happen through the sound. So this particular quotation in John 1:1 explains how everything, the sound of God is the, what do we call it? The actual, it's what actually makes the material world make manifest. The sound of God creates, because he just mentions, makes the word, and because if you go back to Genesis 1 from verse 1, when he says, God only says, let there be this, and it was. Let there be that, and it was. So through the sound of the Supreme, the material creation made manifest. I mean, this is the biblical aspect of it. That through his sound, the material world was made manifest.
Well, in that case, the sound may be compared to the glance, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam. But Mother Kamania, do you have something to say in regards to the short response received so far?
It sounded fascinating, but I could only catch about half of it, unfortunately.
The line was breaking, okay. If I may try to reiterate what he was saying, that he quoted John 1:1, and he also quoted Genesis, which is in the Old Testament. And in both, the understanding is that God does not need to sit down and bring ingredients together to make things manifest. It is just by the sound, like he was saying, quoting from the Genesis, that God says, let there be light, and the light manifests. He just speaks, and whatever he wants manifests. And then in the New Testament also, it is also said that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And it is through the Word that all things were created. So the Word, which also means the sound, is the cause of all material creation. I think in a just that is what Richard Grandpapa was saying. But I think we have another scholar here. I don't know if he has a question or he wants to add. Dr. Hassan, who also has an Islamic background. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Mother, please kindly accept my special obeisances. All glory to Guru, all glory to Sir Prabhupada, and all glory to the wonderful assembled devotees. I just want to give a contribution. Yeah. So in the Quran, it is said when Krishna said "Kun fayakun," it means that be, and it is be. It is explaining the supremacy of Krishna, that he don't have to do anything. He just have to say the sound and it manifests. So But in Krishna consciousness, it's explained more in advance how creation was, how creation comes. Because, for instance, if in Islam, when you said, Krishna said, kun fayakun, be and it is be, it doesn't explain more further, only explain the supremacy of Krishna. So it's the same sound in Christianity and Islam is the same thing, but in Krishna consciousness, it's explained more further. So this is my little contribution. Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Haribol.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Chakra Prabhu.
Yeah, and you see, like Hassan was saying, even though biblically it is said that it was through the sound, it was through the word that everything was made manifest, right? And the same Bible explains that that word itself sometimes can take form. The word, the sound, sometimes can take form. And that is why in Christianity it is believed that the manifestation, the physical manifestation of the word is also Christ. The advent of Christ is also the physical manifestation of the word. And not that alone. The word had manifested so many years even before Christ. In Hebrews chapter 7 from verse 1, the word made itself manifest in the form of Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And that is why it was Paul was referring that Jesus will be manifested in the order of Melchizedek. So the Bible also accepts that the sound or the word can sometimes also take flesh and represent the Supreme Lord.
Lila Devi, please, you may unmute. We're happy to see you here. When Mother Bright, when you were speaking, and I saw Lila. I said, wow, that's nice, because Lila is with the BIHS, Bhaktivedanta Institute of Higher Studies. And this particular group within ISKCON deals very scientifically with the scientific methods and scientific studies of Srila Prabhupada's writings. So we're happy to have you here, Lila Devi. Please, you may go ahead and then share with us.
Hare Krishna, Sahadev Das. Thank you. This is Lila Kishori Devi Dasi.
Lila
is also
Lila
here.
Kishori.
Yes, Haribol. It's very good to be here. Many people know, was raised very Christian and spent many, many years in Bible study. And I'm in complete agreement with what Hari Chakra mentioned, but I would say that in chapter 1 in Genesis, it first says that in the beginning, God prepared, formed, and fashioned the heavens and earth. The earth was without form and empty waste, and darkness was upon the face of a very great deep. And the Spirit of God was moving, hovering, and brooding over the face of the deep. And then God said, let there be light. So he was looking first. He was glancing, he was hovering, he was over the face. And I think that the connection to Bhakti is that it's over a deep, and we learn of the ocean of milk and him resting there. And so he was hovering, he was looking. And then the word did in fact make things manifest, because of course Krishna is complete. And so whatever he says is it's going to be. So I think it is a true connection. And I think that sometimes in Christianity it's just been hidden, or as my Guru Maharaj says, sort of made more like a primer, made a little bit easier for people to digest. And then we come into Bhakti and we get the fullness. So Hare Krishna, I hope that did help Kamaniya. Haribol.
Thank you so much, Lila Kishori. And thank you,
Lila Kishori.
Thank you for getting me a little confused with your humble self with Lila. Lila with BIHS. But thank you. Mother Bright, please, you may go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking Lila was here also. So yeah, thank you, Lila Kishori, for sharing that. Lila Kishori comes from a very devout Christian family. as she was speaking, the Lord in the heart just also revealed to me, and I'd like to get VRAJA to share in this, that sometimes when we hear Christian theology, we hear the creation of Lord Brahma, as opposed to creation, the VRAJA, as opposed to the creation of Narayan. So we may hear that part of creation coming through Lord Brahma, who first had to hear. He had to hear because he didn't know how to create. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to create living beings. But there are two creations. The creation of the Supreme Lord, which is what we are exploring now, and which is going to end actually after a few texts. And we're going to go into the creation of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the secondary creation. And yeah, so from my understanding, a lot of Christian theology comes from Brahma's conception of creation, how he created. And so, yeah, because Brahma is relating to Narada Muni, who has doubts about the creation. And Lord Brahma then spoke to Narada Muni and explained to Narada Muni how he understood Narada Muni's doubts. And also that, yeah, it's very, first he had to hear that sound, tapa. He had to hear that in order to start creation. So that explanation from the Bhakti viewpoint is also there. Maybe VRAJA Prabhu, you have something you'd like to add to that? These are all
Shema VRAJA Acharya Prabhu.
great
Hare
souls that
Krishna,
spend a lot of
Mataji.
time.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept our good obeisances. All glories to Sri Guru and Guru Ranga. Thank you very much for being here. Wonderful discussion. In fact, I have another perspective to this, which may not be the right audience for it. Yes, because there's a lot of similarities, correlations between the Vedic culture, Vedic understanding, and the African concept of many things. And if anyone who understands deeply the African tradition and the maybe anyway, let's say African tradition, will appreciate very much what we are getting as information from the Vedas. Because sound is a very powerful force, just like the Bible and the Vedas say, is God. That word, that sound is God. So in the African tradition, the sound is a very powerful force. And for that reason, it is used as the basis of many things, creation and destruction. Not only creation, but also destruction. When the sound is uttered with some intensity, it can destroy, and it can also give rise to creation. This is experienced every now and then in the African tradition, like a daily occurrence, in those two practices. And every time we get to hear the detailed information in the Vedas, it kind of reinforces the faith in the ancient traditions. The Vedas also say that Om is that word which represents God in sound. Om is God in sound. So, and Om is also the basis of everything. So that is if we want to see from the Christian perspective, so we can see that in the Vedic culture, Om is the sound representation of God and is the basis of everything that exists. So, well, anyway, it's a lot of mystery to unravel. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 6 and 7, where the material elements are described. In the purport to that, Srila Prabhupada said that the detailed understanding of this is not given in the Bhagavad Gita, but one should try to understand it. One should study it further. And without taking much of your time, I would also like to give another reference, which will make us understand why it is important for any spiritualist to try to understand this seemingly complex subject. We should not take it like complex, because we are spiritual scientists, and it should really whet our appetite for more knowledge. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, text 4 and 5, I think Sadhu Prabhu, you can help us, put those verses up, and you will immediately see why the analytical study of nature, of God, of matter, is also considered to be bhakti. And Krishna says anyone who follows one of them will attain the result of both. Text 4 of chapter 5, you can see that. You can read it. Text 4 and text 5.
Yeah, only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
Yeah.
And then text 5, one who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
Yeah, so if I can just quickly do a summary of my realization of this process. It's very deep, very, very deep, and it's also calling us to not shun analytical study as something different from devotional service. But the acharyas have given us, the resume of what we need to know, and we are simply supposed to follow the practices. But the unfortunate thing is that most often we are like somebody who stumbles into wealth without labor. When you stumble into wealth without knowing how it comes about, then you start thinking that everything is about money. You will not understand how wealth is created, and then the appreciation is not there. We take it for granted. So quite often we take bhakti for granted because we stumble into it without knowing how how the sages have come through so many years of studies and researches to come and give us just this: chant the holy name, worship the deities, do devotional service. Many of us, it's just like we stumble into wealth without knowing how it's been created. But if you really go through the analytical study, then you become very appreciative of every aspect of devotional life. When you're chanting, you no longer chant. You will never chant mechanically, because you understand deeply, what connection you are having to that sound vibration of the holy name. So there is a connection very deep about this analytical study and, our bhakti. And we have to try to understand it, individually. I cannot make a whole, subject out of it now. But thank you, Mataji, for calling on me to make a little contribution. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Bull, Hari. I just wanted so much to hear from you. I haven't heard from you the last couple of times that I was here with Bhagavatam. I also want to hear from I saw him here. Where is he? Okay. But Prabhu, thank you, because as you're speaking, so again, I try to listen to the Lord in the heart. Paramatma, reminded me that Lord Kapila Dev instructed Devahuti on the science of, or the analytical science of Shankya philosophy. And in that explanation, when Kapila Dev was explaining to Devahuti was asking so many different questions about the nature of material energy. And for me, when I read that pastime, when I read those pastimes of hearing Devahuti and her questions and how Kapila Dev answers her, he always incorporates the two, how Shankya and devotional service are kind of interconnected. At the same time, what I learned from Kapila Dev by his example to Devahuti was that there has to be a bona fide personality that can connect the two and give the knowledge within the heart, to the sincere student. So even though Krishna's external energy, or even though Shankya philosophy is so very important, it really does require the teacher. It requires a bona fide teacher to be able to bring both of them into the awareness of the student. So thank you for reminding us about that. I saw Sahadev Prabhu. I saw Salika was here. Salika is also another scholar. And there he is.
Yeah.
Salika Prabhu. Oh, no, that was Madhavan Prabhu. But anyway, Salika is also very much a scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam and coming from there. He is. Salika, would you like to share something, Prabhu? About this text? And also referencing Kamania's question?
Well, Salika is both Vedic, Christian, and Islamic.
And Muslim. And Muslim, yes.
Yes.
It's the your thing is on. Your Saha, let him know we can't hear him.
Salika Prabhu, we cannot hear you. You just opening your mouth. We're talking about sound. We want to hear the sound.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I was distracted.
Always.
I'm multitasking.
Okay.
Chandra Swami Maharaj gave me some assignment, and I was trying to get that done, so I got lost into that. Sorry.
No worries, Salika Prabhu. It's just nice to hear you and hear your voice, hear the sound of your voice.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yes. So Saha, then I'll turn it back over to you because I see Takura Murari.
Yeah, there are two hands up. I think there is one song that I really admire so much, The Sound of Silence. The Sound of Silence. It sounds oxymoron, but there is silence in sound also. Thakur Murari Prabhu. Thakur Murari Prabhu, I call him the peacemaker. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. I'll go to Srila Prabhupada and the Assembly devotees. So, in my country, it is regarded as predominantly Christian. So, most of us have been exposed to the philosophy of Christianity. So, the whole aspect of creation, both in Genesis and in John, in St. John. Yes, so those. So, as we, based on us being exposed to both, each time you come to the whole aspect of creation in Bhagavatam, it is so overwhelming that you take your time and take a little and chew it and enjoy it, because it's so so deep. So as I said, I am exposed to both. So also you see, we are in Christianity. I think Adam is regarded as a secondary creator, I think, because yes, he got the power to develop, so a secondary creator. So as per the
Murari,
Bhagavatam,
yes. Thakur Murari. Yes. So just for the benefit of some of the people on the call, because you're from Jamaica and your accent is a little heavy, so you can speak a little slowly, please.
Yes, well, I'm trying. So I'm saying that Adam is regarded as a as a secondary creator in Christianity. Just like Lord Brahma is regarded as a secondary creator. So as I said before, each time we try to study, because I've been through, most of us have been through the Bhagavatam with creation. And each time you go through it, it's overwhelming. So it seems that would take like many lifetimes and you still don't get. But so I saying that also with the Sankhya philosophy and devotional service bhakti, it is said there that if you understand both as being, on the same level, then you're okay. I think chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita would give you a kind of summary of what, the Bhagavad Gita would have. I think, is it regarding Sankhya philosophy, Sankhya Yoga, I think, chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken. I think in each chapter is regarded a type of yoga. So if I'm not mistaken, chapter 2 is regarded as Sankhya Yoga because it gives you a sort of a synopsis as to what is there. So in summary, the sound, I was saying the aspect of sound. Bear in mind that the Lord has many potencies. So sound be one. So as we're saying that, it takes a lot of discussion in the assembly of devotees to understand the whole creation. Because I said before, each time we study creation in the Bhagavatam, it is overwhelming. So that's my little bit. But thank you, Prabhu, for your input. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hope I got something because my accent is a bit different. That's me, I'm a fast talker, but I try to slow it down so you guys can hear me. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we heard
And
you.
before you go to Bhakta Hassan, again, as I listen, I pray. Krishna, help me to understand. So, but Thakur Mahara Prabhu, what I got from what you said is, in terms of Lord Kapila Dev, there are two Kapila Dev. So there's one Kapila Dev that expounded Shankya philosophy to Devahuti, who the focus is devotional service through the medium of Shankya philosophy. And then there's another Kapila Dev that focuses on Krishna's external material energy that has nothing to do with understanding Krishna as a person. And so somebody, if they're exposed to that Shankya philosophy from Kapila, the name is also Kapila Dev, and it's focusing more on Krishna's external material energy, which means looking at the sky and thinking of the sky as God. That's different than Kapila Dev, who explained Shankya philosophy to Devahuti and would explain to her the understanding of the sky in relationship to the personality of Godhead Krishna. So that's something that I just wanted to bring awareness to, because I think those things are important because it's a nuance of how we hear about Krishna. There are nuances.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing up this, because usually, of course, like you rightly said, they are both Kapilas, and they both expanded on the same subject matter, Sankhya. But Sankhya philosophy is attributed to the bogus Kapila, not the incarnation of Krishna as Kapila, the son of Devahuti. So if we follow that Sankhya philosophy propounded by that false Kapila, that may not get us anywhere. But if we follow the Sankhya philosophy as expounded by Kapila, the son of Devahuti, then we'll get in touch with devotional service. But Hassan, please, you may unmute. Thank you, Mother Bright, for bringing that up, because it's very important.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace. Thank you for giving me another chance. Mother, my question, since we are talking about sound, music is also sound. And I heard that as a devotees, we don't have to listen to good devotees. We don't have to listen. They are not interested in listening to anything apart from Kirtan or anything about Krishna. And in my country, there's people who sing, and they sing, and their songs is more like advising people in life, and it's also another way of preaching. So as a devotees, can we listen to this kind of songs? And at the same time, it is said that we don't have to associate ourselves with the karmists. So can we explain how, can you explain it a bit further? What does that mean that we don't have to associate ourselves with karmists? Hare Krishna.
Well, Dr. Hassan. Dr. Hassan, I want to honor that your tradition is Islamic. And so I'm going to have Salika, who I pray is with us now, to respond to your question, because Salika comes from an Islamic background also.
Yes, thank you. I love listening. I love listening to him too. So I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you very much, Mother Bright Lila. Dr. Hassan, I didn't get quite the full part of your question. You said
he was asking. We're talking about sound, and
yes.
it is said that we have to be very careful what sort of sounds we listen to. Mm-hmm. So he is talking about songs or music, that mm-hmm. it's recommended that we do not listen to any music or sound that does not relate to Krishna. But he's saying in his country there are different sort of genres that they also sing about life, how to live your life, and how to appreciate and respect nature and God. They may not mention Krishna's name. So he's wondering if devotees could listen to such songs.
Thank you. That part is what I was hearing when he was concluding his question. Let me start from Islamic conception or perception of these thoughts. Then I'll end it up with Krishna consciousness, because ultimately, Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, he said, Islamic consciousness is also Krishna consciousness. The terminology, the timing, the presentation is what is different at different times. And in respect to the question of listening to the sound, different sound, in the Quran, I can't remember a particular verse, but I know in the Surah Al-Ma'idah, there is a specific verse that was talking about the sound. And what we hear is determined by what we know. And I give you an example, a very gross example. When a child hears the word sex, it has nothing to do with, the child does not know whether it is good or bad. It's just a natural sound. So, but the child reacts to the sound, to the word sex, based on his understanding or perception of sex. And we have in the very tradition the story of Srila Vyasadeva and his son Sukadev Goswami, when both of them passed through where the gopi, the young girls were bathing. The reaction to the both of them was different because of the personality who they have. So whether it is in Islam or in a Krishna consciousness, what one carries in his consciousness is what determines how he relates to a particular sound. And that is what Prabhupada has given to us, that in everything Srila Prabhupada saw, in flowers, in the parks in the US, in every circumstance, Prabhupada brings out the Krishna consciousness as of it. So even in the most difficult or maybe unpalatable song or genre, a devotee will see Krishna through that situation, and he tries to use it as a way of connecting to Krishna. So, and that is exactly what the Islamic scholars who are advanced in knowledge also talks about. And I'll give a short story about this. to explain this. When I was transmitting from a Muslim religious leader to a Christian, it was a bizarre because I was the next to the imam in my mosque. But my imam was a very advanced devotee. So everybody was disturbed. When I went to him, he said, I give you my blessing that you go ahead in your path that you are going, because I know that God has something divine for you in that path. This is a Muslim imam, traditionally, who will not even welcome anybody wanting to join or talk about another religion. So, but this is his own perception. So, summarily, my answer to your question is that as one who is trained, who has had, who has get opportunity to access Krishna consciousness, for him, everywhere, anywhere is Krishna loka for him, because in whatever circumstances, he can connect to Krishna. And that's the way I will reason and answer this question. I hope it helps.
Very, 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 very much.
Very well.
Very much. Yes, very, very, very much. Because there's some music, if you hear them, you become very, very emotional. It touches your heart, you know. So sometimes you wonder, how can this music be wrong, or how can was it that don't want to accept this music, because it teaches a lot. So thank you so much, Your Grace, Sarika, for your wonderful answer. And I also ask, it is said that we don't have to associate ourselves with the karmist.
Yeah,
So,
I think that was the second part.
yes, can you explain more further of that? What is that exactly? What does that means? Hare Krishna.
Okay, Mother Right Leader.
I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Christopher answers that question very, very interestingly.
I appreciate so much your answer.
Thank you, Mother.
However, you're speaking, Salika, about a pure personality. And so I want to ask Dr. Hassan, you're from Ghana, right, Dr. Hassan?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I say to you, I'm gonna arrange for you to go to Ghana, I can book you a flight, I can arrange for you to go by boat, or I can arrange for you to go by, let's say, meeting people in different countries to finally get there, right? So you'll make stops. You have to make stops in different countries. There's an emergency. There's a big emergency in Ghana that you got to get to. How would you want to go?
I want to go by flight.
All right, you want to go by flight. So in the same way, without being sectarian, Krishna explains to us that if we really want to be with him, bhakti means completely devoting ourselves to the personality of Godhead. And when we love somebody, we want to get to them. If there's somebody you love, you want to get to in Ghana, you want to do what they like, what they want. You want to get there. You're going to take the plane. You want to get there. You're going to get the fastest way to get there.
Yes.
That ultimately can only come from what Salika Prabhu shared. It can only come when we become pure in consciousness, to be able to just like get the plane, get there, do whatever pleases the person that you love. It does take time, and it does take engaging in ways to help us to do that. But we can expedite the process, Bhakta Hassan Prabhu, with a good guide. We need a good guide, and following that guide, or following that guidance. So I would just add that to Salika Prabhu's answer to you, that whether you are listening to whatever the music that's touching your heart, or music that's just, as you said, just devotional music. We want to explore what actually pleases Krishna, because that's our intention in this life. We want to do what pleases Krishna, and that you need guidance to learn.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Mother. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
And as far as you said, karmis, well, you know, all of us are actual karmis in one sense, you know. We're fortunate that we're getting guidance. And we're fortunate that we're in the boat, you know, because we're scared to take the plane, so we're on the boat. So, you know, in that sense, you know, we're kind of letting go of some things. That's why we're going on the boat, right? But then we might decide at some point, well, I want to get on the plane, right? So really about the Hassan Prabhu, the thing is, it's all about love, you know, it's loving, it's all about love. It really is all about love. And so a person that's pure, they don't see another person as a karmi. They see them as a spirit soul. They don't see them as their body. However, I can say I'm not there. So if I see somebody as a body and I don't see them as spirit soul, if I see them as a body, then I try to use my spiritual intelligence to help me to not be judgmental and not label those persons. They're karmis, they're drinking, they're smoking, whatever. And I pray to my guidance, my beloved spiritual master, to help me to develop that consciousness. Because that consciousness really doesn't help us to grow when we look at people in judgmental ways. Doesn't help us to get on the plane. Not really. Takes us longer to get on the plane.
Yes, thank you so much, Mother. I'm very, very grateful for your wonderful answers. Especially me, as growing up, most of my friends were Christians and they were very, very, very good people. So I used to ask myself, how can these people go to hell if they are not Muslims? And there's other question I used to also ask. I think His Grace Salika will know about this. During the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when they were sacked from Mecca, before they reached Medina, they went to Abyssinia, Ethiopia, and they would go to Catholic Church. And these Catholic people protected them before they went to Medina. So the question sometimes I used to ask my brothers Muslims is that if Christianity is not good, why did Muhammad send you people there, send his disciples there? And they were protected because he told them that this man know God. So if the Islam is saying that Christians will go to hell, then Muhammad deceived these people. But I think that is not how it is, because all these things, when I come to Krishna consciousness, then I begin to understand all these things, because it was questions I used to ask and I was not getting the right answers. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mother, for the wonderful answers. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for being on the boat, Prabhu. Yeah. Let's rock in that boat. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Hassan Prabhu.
Well, thank you so much, Mother LILA, for always making your Srimad Bhagavatam discourses quite interesting.
I just want to say one point that it's really important to remember, Hassan Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada never thought anyone to be sectarian, ever, ever. Everybody's looking for God in some way, even those people that say they don't believe in God. They're actually, it's somewhere deep within them, because the Lord is within the heart. So it's really important for us to remember, sectarianism is not bhakti. It's not. Okay.
It's very interesting how the Supreme Lord inspired Lord Brahma to make the heart of a human being, because the heart is where all emotions are stored, and sometimes my heart hurts so much when I find devotees who become so hateful of other religious bodies. But I cannot stop them. People are going to be who they are. But I pray to the Lord to protect me from becoming such hateful individual. Now, I would like to say something in regards to Mother Kamania's beautiful question about the sound. And I would also like to say that the Bible description or narration of creation, as I understood from my guru, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, is that the Bible is like the abridged dictionary, and the Vedas is like the unabridged dictionary, where the same word is explained, but one gives a detailed explanation, one gives a very brief explanation. So the Bible gives a brief explanation of creation, whereas the Vedas gives detailed. And so we all know, if we remember reading or especially watching the Vishnu Purana series, we see how creation comes about. That in the beginning, Lord Vishnu looks at himself, and from his upper arm, a personality comes out. And then when he decided to create the material creation, initially there was a banyan leaf, and Krishna, Lord Vishnu, appeared as a baby, laying on this banyan leaf on top of a body of a river, a body of water, I should say. And that is where creation begins. And that is also nicely described in the Bible from Genesis. And we know Lord Balaram is the first expansion of Krishna. And Lord Balaram is the source of Anantasesha. So it says in Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void. And the darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. This thing here, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, is talking about Lord Balaram in the form of Anantasesha. And God said, let there be light. This is very much, like I said, very brief, but there is also references to what it said here as, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So in a brief, the Bible's description of creation is not different from the Vedic viewpoint, except that the Vedic gives more detailed and elaborate explanation of how the creation came about. So we should be respectful to other faiths, denominations. It is the same God who is manifesting himself to the world at different times, different places. So Mother VRAJA, like I said initially, this is a very technical subject matter. And I love this subject matter because it kind of blows my mind. You know, I like my mind to be blown out sometimes. And these kind of subject matters blows my mind because it gets me a little bit confused, but in a very positive way, because I do not fully understand it. I don't understand it, but it's so intriguing, and you would like to know, you would like to have more information. So thank you for giving this wonderful, even though it's technical, but somehow you were able to make it understandable and appreciable. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that being said, I think
Thank you, Saha.
we're close.
Saha, the easy
Yes.
way for us to understand, the easy way for all of us, chant, chant, chant.
Yes.
Just keep chanting, chanting, chanting. Hearing, hearing, hearing. So thank you for that, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Saha, if I may, I just want to acknowledge Ajamil's presence. I haven't seen him here on this chat before. I know he comes sometimes on this on the Sangha, but I haven't seen him in a long time. Govinda Prabhu, Madhuvan Prabhu, I think he had his hand up at a point. I don't know what happened. VRAJA, thank you for sharing, Prabhu. We appreciate so much. And the mothers that are here, and I just want to thank Narayani and Atma and Loka and Matravinda for being here, and Leela and Gayatri, the Matajis that come, Suniti, thank you, Shoda Devi, thank you so much. Kamania, of course, Kamania is here every time we speak. I'm so grateful. And of course, Hari Chakra, the transcendental person that connects all religious traditions. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. Just want to acknowledge your presence.
Yes. Yes.
I'm saying, Hare Krishna Mother, also it's not just me. I may be distracted because I'm in my office, but nonetheless, what I want to contribute is that I think in the letter of instruction, the letter of devotion, it was said that we shouldn't have too close association with the kami. Not that we can, there's no way we will not interact with people. We can't segregate ourselves. And even for the purpose of preaching, we have to interact with people naturally, but we cannot have very close interaction. You know, I think that's what the instruction that was given, the letter of instruction. I cannot quote it exactly now because I'm a bit distracted. So that's just what I want to say. Hare Krishna, Mother, and thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for
Saha,
sharing.
did you get that?
Yeah.
Did you get that, Saha?
Yes, he was saying that his line oftentimes when he has this video it kind of breaks up. But what he was saying is that he cannot quote exactly, but in Nectar of Devotion, it is said that one should minimize his interaction with non-devotees because it is impossible not to interact, not to associate with non-devotees because we're preaching and you're going to be having some contacts with them. So that is what he was sharing.
Yeah, that's a principle that's given by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction for a devotee that's wanting to practice bhakti. At the same time, yes, you're so right, Madhavan Prabhu, because we're preachers by nature. We want to share this wonderful, wonderful knowledge, and we want to share it with others. At the same time, we simultaneously, we need to protect ourselves from, just the influences of material energy, because as you know, it is intense.
Well, I would say this is my special blessing, and I pray that the Lord continues to bless me this way. And that is, I'm here most of the time when Srimad Bhagavatam is being discussed. And so I get the opportunity to hear from so many devotees. And I very well remember that this particular question had been asked a couple times to different speakers and had been answered. And I because until those times, I also didn't really understand when the scriptures say that devotees should not associate with non-devotees. And the answer to devotees not to associate with non-devotees is that it is not that you do not get in touch or in contact or do not interact with them, but we do not imbibe their lifestyle. We do not take upon ourselves the way they live their life, the way they talk, the way they eat, the way they live their life, in period. We do not associate with them in the sense that we do not imbibe their way of life, but we interact with them and we give them Krishna consciousness. His Holiness Chandramali Maharaj answered the question this way. His Grace Mahatma Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, Guru, he also answered it the same way. And I think somebody else, but these
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj also answered it. Very simple sutra. Very simple sutra he gives. Give your association, don't take their association. Give your association.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Mother Kamania, I saw your beautiful hand. Did you just get tired?
Well, no, Mother VRAJA LILA took the words from my mouth.
She did. Oh,
exactly. That's why I put mine down also.
Oh, okay. Mother VRAJA LILA is a telepathist.
She reads all hearts.
Yes, she does.
Well, our revered spiritual master, we can't leave him out. So
yeah. Thank you all. So, Mother VRAJA, see, your motherliness is very infatuating, and we appreciate you so much. And I sometimes ask myself, can a sinful person pray to the Lord for an elevated person? For example, can me as a crazy disciple pray to the Lord for my spiritual master? And it turns out, yes. And so in this way, we humbly pray to the Lord to help protect, guide us all, especially our superiors, so they can be here and nourish our understanding in Krishna consciousness for a long time to come. Because we're starting.
I don't want to have the last word. I just want to acknowledge you. You are so loved by your spiritual master. He has you here every day, sitting and hearing. And you are so protected because there is no other way that you can deal with that, with material energy, without this kind of protection. So please always remember how much you are loved by him and by all of us for you doing this service. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is my prayer, that their lordships and the parampara and the devotees do not take this blessing away from me. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. We're going to humbly and respectfully request you all, dear assembled Vaishnavis, to kindly unmute, and we all chant the loudest, whether it is melodious or toneless Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, to express our appreciation to our revered sister, auntie, Grace VRAJA LILA Devi. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare
By grace, Mother VRAJA LILA Devi Das ki Bhakti Tirtha Swami Krishna Pari ki Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki all glories to assemble devotees.
Haribo.
Haribo.